Welcome to the Run Pod Option. I'm Marty.
I'm Kyle.
And we are short one Jeff this week.
I'm just short.
Yeah, Kyle's just short, and Jeff is spending time with family, which we all hope you do this week. Happy Thanksgiving. Follow us at Run Pod Option on Twitter. Email us runpodoption@gmail.com. Take a listen to the review show. We recorded it on Monday. Tonight is Tuesday, and because it is rivalry week, we have a lot of games to pick.
Multiple games.
More than the 12 we're used to, but not every game.
No, because not all games are rivalries.
No, that is true. Yeah, SMU and Tulane is not necessarily a rivalry. TCU and West Virginia, not so much a rivalry, really. It's
no.
Formerly of the Mountain West and just in the mountains.
Yes, and somehow was in the Big East. And
yeah, it's a weird thing, but so was like Louisiana Tech was in the WAC at one point.
There's nothing more Western than Louisiana, so
it was Western Louisiana, so kind of I guess it made sense.
They set the conference up in the mid 1800s. Let's be honest.
So last week I finished 5-6 on my picks. We pushed on Tennessee, Missouri, which is probably for the best because some of us had Tennessee. I think we all had Tennessee covering, which is honestly a miracle. They won. They beat Missouri, and they're bowl eligible now.
What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive indeed. So last week I was 5-6. I had the worst week. Kyle had the best week at 8-3, and that's why I think Jeff isn't actually here because he had a 7-4 week, which is not bad. 7-4, in fact, is great, but it's not what Jeff holds himself up as a standard. I think he'd tell you the same thing.
Well, also, I think that he'd be very upset to realize that his strategy of picking games the way that I did last week actually worked for him.
Yeah, and then you swerved and beat him on one more game. It really is a face turn. But the only reason I kind of talk about it, so I hadn't really been focusing on the all-time standings because I think we mentioned last week or the week prior, Jeff's run away with it, right?
Yeah.
Let's just get a quick update. Jeff is 92-62. I am 81-73, and Kyle is 74-80. This is important because, Kyle, before we make these picks on these 18 games, I want you to know that you are exactly 18 games behind Jeff. And we have Jeff's picks, so do you just want to pick the opposite of Jeff for every one of them? We make this a really short show, and then it's boom or bust. It's literally a double or nothing scenario.
I think that I'm going to do that, but I'm going to try to justify my pick.
We'll lead off with what Jeff picked every time, and then you can come to the conclusion. Because I will tell you, and we all love Jeff here, especially his friends and family that listen. Which thank you guys for your support. There's a few of his choices in here that I'm not going to agree with. I like just downright. I don't think either of us all are. So do you want to go ahead and get to the games?
Yeah, let's do it.
We have Ole Miss visiting Mississippi State. It's the Egg Bowl. And we have Ole Miss. It's only a 1-point favorite on the road. Jeffrey picked Mississippi State. And I'm actually going to go Ole Miss because I don't think that Mississippi State can control the Plumlee brother.
Yes, I'm going to go Ole Miss as well because, oh man, I hate supporting anything that has the name Plumlee in it. It really makes me upset. But Mississippi State doesn't have anybody by the name of Tua to hurt in this game. So
yeah, so what are they looking for? What is their driving incentive?
They got nothing in this. They're
not derailing Mississippi State's playoff chances. That's for certain.
It's Ole Miss. Ole Miss all the way.
We have a big game with Wisconsin at Minnesota. It's the play-in game for the Big Ten Championship. Jeffrey picked Wisconsin to cover. They're 3-point favorites on the road. I want to pick Minnesota so bad. I really want to pick Minnesota because we've seen Wisconsin, Ohio State already.
Well, do it if you're not a coward. Just do it.
You had to bring the C word in like that. You had to call me a coward. And with the first name like Marty, we know I don't like being called, chicken or coward. So I'm gonna pick Minnesota to cover here.
So am I. I think PJ Fleck is gonna. I mean, it's at home. That place is going to be rocking.
And it's game day.
I think that everything's kind of coming together for this to be a Minnesota win right there, and to really jettison them into a loss to Ohio State in the Big Ten championship.
To put the rocket booster on them for a 40-point loss against Ohio State. Do they play it in Indianapolis? That's where they play the Big Ten championship, don't they?
I don't know where they play it.
I think that's where they play it.
They probably play it in something stupid like Houston or something like that.
It is funny. I think the only game that's been played there this year for college it might have been Ball State against Purdue.
Well, the Colts scrimmaged against a college team when they played Jacksonville up there.
I do think this is going to be a good game, and I haven't checked the weather, but since I think it was last Saturday, it's predicted to be snowing during that game. And I'm always here for a snow game. And since Minnesota decided to play outdoors a few years back, we actually might be able to see a fun one.
Is there anything more on brand than a Wisconsin-Minnesota Snow Bowl?
It's perfect. It
perfect.
Sounds right.
It does.
A game that we both have ties to, Virginia Tech at Virginia. Virginia Tech are 1-point favorites. This is also a play-in game for whoever gets sacrificed by Clemson. The tie-in, for those who aren't aware, Kyle attended Virginia Tech for one full year or one semester?
Yeah, full year.
A full year, and I got drunk at Virginia a lot. And I didn't
also
go to
got
school
drunk
there.
at Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I got drunk at both places, and I would say that this rivalry, and in particular just the two schools, are probably one of the leading factors to why I'm sober now, because I turned it on.
I mean, they hate each other.
Yep. UVA hasn't won this game since 2003, and Virginia Tech are coming off their first consecutive shutouts in conference since 1935. It's their last back-to-back shutouts overall since 2005. They had a really cool send-off with Bud Foster last week. It was his last home game coaching. He went out the right way, shutting out an opponent. It's honestly the fitting end, I think, to his career at Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, with Virginia Tech being 1-point favorites, I think that emotional high is what's going to keep them, it's going to let them down. UVA, I think, is going to cover, and Jeffrey also has UVA to cover.
Oh, thank God. I'm happy I'm getting to pick Virginia Tech here. I don't support anything that UVA does. Basketball, football.
The governor wearing blackface.
You seriously? Yeah, I think that Virginia Tech does it just so they can underwhelm in the ACC championship against Clemson.
Part of me really wants Virginia Tech to win because I think that'd be 5 games in a row that they've won, and that's since they got hammered by Duke, if I'm remembering that right. And Clemson probably smashes, but it would be nice to have a little bit of hope.
We wrote Virginia Tech off weeks after that Duke game. We were just like, this is the worst that they've ever been. And they've kind of righted the ship.
You know what? They absolutely did right the ship, and we pointed at them right after Taggart got fired at Florida State, if you'll remember, because Fuente was already kind of entering the season in the hot seat, and they hadn't looked good. And part of that was injuries. They had a lot of injuries, but you can only use that excuse so many times when the year before you had almost your entire defensive depth gone because you were kicking them off the team for whatever reason. We have Washington State at Washington. The Huskies are 7-point favorites in the Apple Cup. I don't know what to do with this game because Washington is not great.
Honestly, I'm surprised that it wasn't more of a 10-point spread for Washington.
Really? See, I think...
because Washington State on the road hasn't been great.
That's true. Or at home. I mean, they lost at home to the UCLA. The one that I've still lost sleep over. I've never gotten it back.
You're still tired.
And they almost lost, I think last week's game was at home too, when Oregon State was up 11 points on them. So maybe the line's not crazy, but I think Mike Leach has given up on half this team. And it's obvious which side that is.
He doesn't even look at the defense.
No, I swear, he doesn't look at the defense. I can't imagine Yeah, he just has, like, they had the 50-yard line. They're practicing on one side of the field. The offense is on the other, and he never turns around. He's just standing at the 49 on his side and just staring and yelling at Gordon.
Even worse is, like, during games when the defense is out on the field and they're looking over for, like, a play call, he just kind of awkwardly, like, really slowly turns his back to them.
He's looking at the Microsoft tablet with the quarterback. I've got Washington State to cover. I think Washington probably still wins, but I got the Cougars to cover.
Okay. What did young Jeffrey do?
He went with Washington to cover 7 points.
Okay. So yeah, Washington State. Gordon goes off and just throws everything against them. Just throws it all the time.
I really hope this game plan works out for you and you get just incredibly close.
That would be amusing.
Clemson at South Carolina. We discussed this rivalry a little bit on the last show called, what did I name it? Ducks Got Cooked. And we were putting them in comparison to A&M and Texas's relationship. So we have Clemson at South Carolina. Go listen to that is what I was trying to say. Clemson at South Carolina. Clemson are 26-point favorites. And Will Muschamp, I don't think is going to get fired, which is probably a shame for South Carolina. I think Clemson covers, and Jeffrey agrees with me.
Oh, see, this is where my luck is going to change, but South Carolina covers. I have no faith in this pick.
It's truly it's a chess move. It's not a pick.
Yeah. Let's go with Linsky. He's gonna just crush it. I have no faith in this pick. I'm honestly just hoping that Clemson takes out like all of their starters just to rub it in South Carolina's face at halftime, and they win by like 24.
That's honestly something I hadn't considered until you just said it. But Wake Forest still didn't cover, and they did the same thing. And I think Wake's better than South Carolina.
Was Wake like really, really hurt though at that point?
They were missing their best offensive. Yeah, Surratt was. I mean, they missed their best offensive player, and they still insisted on running the late point mesh, where they're basically into the center's ass before they decide whether the running back's going to keep it.
Oh, I can't wait to watch that this weekend against Syracuse.
Just in the interest of the show, adding a little bit of time. We don't want to just be picks after picks after picks. Do you want to share, or do you want me to share the story of our two buddies that went to Clemson? We worked with them. They played for the soccer team at Clemson, and they told us about the hazing ritual for rookies when it came to this rivalry.
Oh, you go with this.
Okay, so I'm going to do my best with the details because this story was told to us now 12 years ago, maybe 13 years ago.
By an Irish dude and a guy who
called us to say he saw a mountain lion when he was driving through North Carolina and was wowed by it.
Yes.
David. His name was David, I believe.
It was David, yes.
So when Clemson played South Carolina, the entire time leading up to it, all the coaches and all the players would mention to the freshmen, listen, this is rivalry week. This is the beat the Cox week, right? Beat the Gamecocks. This is beat the Cox week. So they talked about their ritual that they do before that game to prep. It's like a team building exercise, and they said it was going to be a circle jerk. So these freshmen kind of knew they were joking, but the players on the team, the upperclassmen, and the coaches dedicated every ounce into this bit. They didn't sell it at all. So finally, one day after practice, it might have been the day before or the week of, they get everybody in the locker room, and they get about 15 people. There's like 5 freshmen. I think the aforementioned David, who is also Mr. South Carolina, like the Gatorade South Carolina player, I think.
It's terrifying.
Which is insane. But they gather them and a few upperclassmen that are in on the joke, and they go, okay, cool, this is it. This is circle jerk time. And they get excited, and like they're ramping it up. And so they start with the freshmen, and it's basically a waiting game for whichever freshman cracks first. And the minute they go and they pull out their wiener, everybody points in last. And it's really, when I'm saying it now out loud, there's no way that would fly now. And also kind of bullying. I'm going to go ahead and say kind of bullying.
What do you think hazing is?
It's not quite like Texas Rangers hazing, but it is pretty rough. Anyways, that means Kyle's on South Carolina alone to cover. Jeff and I have Clemson.
That's what that means?
Let's move on. That's exactly what that means. The moral of the story is Kyle whipped out his cock first and picked South Carolina.
Big pick energy, man.
Louisville at Kentucky. The all-time record for this game, Kyle. Louisville, Kentucky, you think long-term rivalry, right? Especially basketball. How many times do you think they've played in football? And they started their first game. Their first game was in 1922. First time they played. Consider conferences. Consider everything else. It's not always doesn't always make sense.
I'm gonna say that they play maybe 50 times.
They've only played this game 31 times.
Wow. Why?
And what's crazier is they only played, the longest win streak was 5 by Kentucky, and those 5 games happened between 1922 and 1994.
Oh, God.
So I think that maybe Louisville just wasn't in the same division level of football. They must not have been.
I guess not.
But the all-time record is Louisville 15, Kentucky 16, which is why Jeff and I, not why Jeff, but definitely why I am picking Louisville to cover that 3 points.
Okay, so Jeff went Louisville as well.
He did.
Yeah, well, obviously I'm going Kentucky. The contrarian in me. Man, that's another pick I don't really feel great about there.
So I haven't watched much Kentucky this year. Are you aware of their quarterback situation?
No.
So they've lost their first 2, and it's my understanding, and this is me learning this information from someone who knows better than I do, but they've apparently just made their wide receiver the quarterback, and they're running the triple option, basically. It's an option quarterback from high school that they're running the system with. So they're just kind of ground and pounding it. They just don't have Benny Snell still.
Yeah.
And Louisville has some firepower.
Yes, and they don't have Josh Allen on the defensive end, on defensive side to even that out, because Louisville does have some firepower. That team can score. They're not the best defense in the world, but they can score. Kentucky is going to win, so it doesn't matter.
Kentucky it is. I'm proud of you. I know how big of a fan you are of their basketball team. So let's pick
I hate both Kentucky and Louisville. I mean, I might hate Louisville more. Right, I just because they're in conference.
Well, I think you said to me the moment that it happened that you're kind of warming up on Kentucky, and that was when John Wall was lowered from the rafters and doing his John Wall dance.
Oh, yeah, that definitely made me happy. And, I just support anything that has Calipari,
North Carolina at North Carolina State. North Carolina are 7-point favorites. Jeff has North Carolina State. I've got UNC to cover because Sam Howell is, frankly, going to be a fantastic quarterback in a couple of years.
I'm going to take UNC as well because NC State is trash. And Fultz knows this.
NC State may truly be... Are they the worst ACC team?
No, Syracuse is.
NC State beat Syracuse, didn't they?
Yes, it was ugly too.
Oh no!
Georgia Tech has something to say. It was 16-10.
Georgia Tech beat Miami and North Carolina State.
Okay, yeah. So I'm going to say Syracuse because Syracuse got beat by NC State, 16-10.
We know it's not Boston College because of what they did. Another bad ACC team, Florida State visit Florida, and the Gators are 18-point favorites at home. Jeff has Florida State.
It's probably the smart pick, but I'm not here to be smart. So give me Florida to just go out and absolutely dominate the shit out of Florida State. I think that Florida State, they got bowl eligible, and they're going to be fat and happy with that. They're going to fall apart.
Yeah, part of me thinks this game might end up being closer than it should be, but I do think Florida pulls away. I just don't think it's by 18 points, so I'm going to go with the Seminoles. Here's an exciting one. Louisiana Monroe at Louisiana.
Call them what they really are.
The artist formerly... No. They are University of Louisiana. They're the artist formerly known as Louisiana Lafayette.
That's all they're ever going to be to me. Damn it.
You know what's crazy about this game is if the University of Louisiana, because I respect them, win this game, it'll be their first 10-win season ever in the entire program's history.
Wow.
And what a fitting way to go out against your in-state rival. They're 21-point favorites. I don't know if I mentioned that. And Jeff has Louisiana Monroe covering that 21 points. Are you going to go with the artist formerly known as ULL?
Yes, because and they're actually going to hang my quote about them never being called University of Louisiana on their corkboard in the locker room as locker room material. It's going to piss them off.
They're going to staple it to a whiteboard. Listen, it's Louisiana. They do weird things there, and they're going to see.
Stuff to a whiteboard. How do you staple stuff to a whiteboard?
Louisiana finds a way. It was intentional the way I said it that way. Trust me.
I'm insane right now.
We're going to stay in the state, and something else that was insane was last year's A&M and LSU 7 overtime thriller. Texas A&M goes to LSU. LSU are 15-point favorites, and they're going to want to avenge that loss last year. So I think LSU, I know Texas A&M is not a bad team. I think LSU is going to cover the 15 points. And Jeffrey agrees with me.
Man.
You know, we really should have done, one of us should have done a Jeff impression. Should it be me since I've got his picks?
Yes.
All right, I'll do a Jeff impression. LSU.
That was awful.
Really, I can't do that. I can't do it to Jeff. I respect him too much.
He knows more about this than we do. Way more than we do. At least more than I do. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I've got to pick A&M. I'm committed to the bit here. I'm just so impressed by how consistent Kellen Mond is.
I'm so impressed that you're doing this. I honestly I'm a pig in shit happy right now. Jimbo Fisher has that program firing on all cylinders. We talked about it on the last show, how great he's doing. So they're obviously going to cover this and, lose by 14. Oklahoma are at Oklahoma State. It's time for Bedlam. And Oklahoma State, in case you didn't know, they played without their starter last week. He's out for the season, Spencer Sanders. This is another shout out to our listener, Michael, in Charlotte, North Carolina. He says, I talk about Spencer Sanders too much, and we made a bet on whether or not Spencer Sanders would be a Heisman finalist, and Michael didn't have the wherewithal, the balls, to meet me on that bet.
He's a real coward.
True coward.
He's the true coward.
Jeff picked Oklahoma State to cover the 13 points. I do not. I have the Sooners beating Oklahoma State by more than 13 points.
Ooh, so Spencer Sanders done.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I gotta go Oklahoma. I actually do feel good about that. Right there.
Yeah, I do too, frankly.
No new quarterback. A new quarterback going into that game, and Jalen Hurts they're going to be trying to put up some points too, because they're trying to. There's that window of opportunity right there to sneak into the final spot in the playoffs right now. Yeah, they're going to be firing on all cylinders. Thanks, Oregon.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And you know what? Thank you, Sun Devils. And the Arizona State Sun Devils host Arizona this week, and Arizona State are 12.5-point favorites. Jeffrey has Arizona State covering. In fact, he wrote me a big paragraph about how much he likes Herm Edwards. I'm not going to read it on air. It's really, he has chicken scratch handwriting. Not afraid to bury him there. I've got Arizona covering, and I don't think they're very good, but I think Arizona State, it's a prime letdown spot, and I feel like Arizona's going to end up playing their best game all season.
I kind of feel the same way, actually, so I don't hate picking Arizona here. And also that paragraph I heard that Jeff wrote, I heard it was pretty salacious, too.
There was a few words in there that, we do cuss on this show, but they were so uncouth, I would have had to bleep them out. So really, it's probably a blessing that Jeff's spending time with his family so that he can then use words that should not ever be said on the radio to his family instead.
I like the idea of him just like cussing them out for no reason, just like lay it into him.
His mother-in-law walks in and he just like I can't even pretend to say what he wouldn't say it, but just like he just drops like the C-bomb when she walks in.
Coward, right?
Yeah, coward. Texas Tech are not cowards, and they go to Texas. Texas is 9. They are 9.5 point favorites after pretty much getting shut out by Baylor. I think I'm going to go Texas Tech. And Jeff agrees with me. So this will be interesting.
Oh, it's Texas. They're going to come out and they're going to play the best game of their year. Sam Ehlinger is just going to turn into the world beater. He's going to pronounce that they're back after they win.
After they finish 7-5?
Yeah. They're back to over 500. So it's Texas. This is going to be their day. They're going to win by 10.
He's sitting back in his room. He's on his bed. He's on Twitter maybe. And he gets an email. And he sees that it's an invitation to the Sun Bowl in El Paso. And he goes, you know what, guys? I think we're back.
Yeah. He then says, got more wins than Baker's got this year.
Who's laughing now, Baker? Terry Bradshaw, what are you doing as I have 7 wins? And you questioned my ability to quarterback. Cincinnati go to Memphis, and Memphis are 9-point favorites, and this game is going to get replayed next week for the AAC Conference Championship. Cincinnati's really struggled 3 of the last 4 weeks, and since Memphis has beaten SMU, they've looked pretty great, but in almost every game they play, it seems like they like, not necessarily playing, they don't like playing from behind, but it takes them just a second to sharpen their knives. And USF, I believe, was up in the first quarter against them, and then Memphis, I believe, won by 30. Like, they blew the doors off of them. Cincinnati's probably got the best defense that Memphis is going to be playing all year. Temple would have been the closest, but they hung 40 on Temple. I think Memphis wins here, but I think Cincinnati might cover. So I'm going to pick Cincinnati, and Jeff is also picking Cincinnati, and we also know how much Jeff loves teams from Ohio, so that makes sense, honestly.
Yeah, he's a huge Ohio mark. His favorite one is in Columbus. He really loves them.
Big fan of Hawthorne Heights.
Oh yeah, I've seen him wear that the Ohio is for Lovers shirt. Yeah.
The Hawthorne Heights beanie that he always wears to work.
Yes. Then the LeBron James like throwback jersey that he wears every day.
And oddly, the LeBron James like sweatband over the beanie, kind of defeating the purpose of catching the sweat on his forehead. But he wears that whenever he works out too, both of them, the beanie and the sweatband. Yes,
and every room that he walks into, he throws salt in the air.
Yeah, it's just very frustrating. The people don't vacuum at our work very frequently, so it just sounds like you're walking across crushed glass at this point with all the sand around Jeff's desk.
I'm picking Memphis. I think that Penny Hardaway comes in and does some assistant coaching for some reason. No, I could really see Memphis going out and dropping, like, winning by like 20 on them.
Absolutely.
Just because of what they did to Temple. And they might be trying to deal a serious body blow going into that conference championship game, just to completely demoralize them going into it.
I think Memphis, because it is important to mention they did lose that Temple game, but they scored a lot of points. I think my pick, I'll be honest, I think Memphis is going to win big. But I think Cincinnati's also better than their most recent results that have driven this spread to 9. So I'm kind of hoping to see Cincinnati revert to old, if nothing else, just to be a competitive game. It is kind of a bummer that they're going to play next week, though. That is always a weird bit.
I could honestly see it going where they're both like not showing their hands this week.
Right, really, yeah, no, absolutely. Maybe.
And it ends up being like a 9-6 game.
God, that'd be ugly. There's no telling what the weather's going to do, because it's probably still going to be pretty cold in Memphis, but they'll probably be at least walking in it. Georgia.
Oh no! I was honestly looking for a way to sneak in walking in Memphis too. So
thank you. Yeah, see, we're kindred spirits.
Yeah.
This is what happens, Jeff, when you don't show up to the show.
A lot of bad jokes. Well, that happens when he's on the show, too.
That's true. Yeah, usually he's jumping and piling on. The whistle's blowing for a late hit.
Personal fouls all day long. Targeting.
Oregon State at Oregon. Oregon are 20-point favorites at home. The Beavers, this is their last shot at bowl eligibility. Oregon's defense showed that they can have the top taken off and get thrown on downfield. But I think part of that reason was Arizona State's running back was running very, very, very tough and ran very, very frequently. I don't think Oregon State has the balance, and I think that Oregon covers the 20 points.
Ooh.
Jeff has picked the Beavers to cover. In fact, hold on. I just got another text message. He said Oregon State wins by 20, which is honestly the boldest prediction I've seen.
Wow. He's living that Sean Mannion dream. I'm going to go with Oregon. And I'm going to say Justin Herbert has a big game. It's at home. It's a rivalry game. Oregon State, they're going to be playing a little tight because they know that they have to win it. And it's not going to work out for them.
Alabama at Auburn. Auburn are 3.5-point underdogs at home. And Alabama, obviously, doesn't have Tua, but they may not need him. Jeff has Alabama covering the 3.5 points. I have Alabama covering as well.
Auburn, going to cover. But they're going to lose. They're going to lose by 3.
Yeah, it does feel like a 21-18 loss.
I feel like this is going to be kind of a slog of a game, honestly.
I don't think it'll be very entertaining, unfortunately.
No. Alabama, they put up a ton of points this past week, but it wasn't Western Kentucky.
Western Carolina.
Or Western Carolina, either. Yeah, Western Kentucky would have
Put some respect on the Catamounts.
I will not. We saw what the offense kind of looked like against Mississippi State after Tua went out. They scored 3 points. I know that they kind of threw a quarterback in there, but I just don't see enough. It's just going to be ugly.
I agree. Georgia at Georgia Tech. Georgia are 29-point favorites. And I'm actually going to let me do some research. Hold on one second.
Has Georgia scored 29 points this year?
I know they have, but I was going to see the last time they scored. What did I say it was? 29?
Yeah.
Okay, the last time Georgia scored more than 29 points was when they scored 43 against Tennessee. And the only other times they scored more than that was 55 against Arkansas State, 63 against Murray State, and 30 against Vanderbilt.
Putting up 43 on Tennessee, that's a bowl eligible team right there.
That is impressive in hindsight. I've got Georgia Tech to cover.
Okay.
Aiming for, I believe, their 4th win, which is way more than anybody expected. Honestly, the fact that they're at 3 is a miracle. And they did, I want to remind you, lose to our troops, the Citadel.
Yes.
Jeff picked Georgia to cover.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm going to go with Georgia Tech. Once again, I don't know if Georgia scores 29 points in this game, much less wins by 29. So that's my only reasoning. I don't think Georgia Tech's very good. And I don't know if they really give them any kind of a fight, but I just don't think that Georgia's going to score enough to win by 29.
It's ultimately, I think, going to be on turnovers. If Georgia Tech loses this game, right, and they only score a touchdown maybe at the most, but they don't turn the ball over and give Georgia free field position, I see them covering 29 easily. It's if you get in trouble and you have a pick six, and that ends up being the difference on something like a spread like this.
Yeah.
Finally, we've got a huge game. We saved this for last because our co-host Jeff is a huge Michigan fan, and there's not a bigger game this week, I don't think, than Ohio State at Michigan. Ohio State are 9.5-point favorites on the road, and Jeff has Michigan covering that 9.5 points.
Did he really?
He really did, which is an absolute shocker to me.
I mean, it's not surprising. He did come into work yesterday with his face painted blue and gold with a big giant M right in the middle of it.
Yeah, it was tough because it was especially, it kind of looked like the Ultimate Warrior because the middle of the M came across the bridge of his nose.
Yes, and he did rip off his shirt, and he told us to feel the power of the Wolverine.
So just a quick recap. I want to talk about the last few times that Jeff has actually picked Michigan to cover. He picked them to cover against Notre Dame. He was right. He picked them to cover against Michigan State. He was right. He picked against them to cover against Indiana. So he picked Indiana to cover. He was wrong. He lost faith. And I think this is him crawling back. And I don't think it's going to work. I'm going to go with the Buckeyes.
I'm going to go with the Buckeyes, too. Jeff is crawling back to the altar of Harbaugh. And when he gets there, Harbaugh's just going to look down at him, spit in his face, and let Shea Patterson throw 3 picks and get mauled by Chase Young.
That I am worried for Shea Patterson. Truly.
Yes.
Well, we did it. Kyle, I cannot believe you actually picked the opposite of every Jeff pick. If you go 18-0, I don't know what I'll do. If you go 18-0, I will get a Kickstarter or one of those like GoFundMes, and we will put it on the Twitter and try to get you some money to put towards the down payment that you and your wife are saving up for. If this works, if you go 18-0,
the dozens of our listeners will be donating cents.
Listen, $30 helps.
Michael will be putting in a cent every day.
Yeah, that's Michael's full of bits, and we appreciate him, and we appreciate every one of you guys that are listening. Thank you for tuning in. Kyle, do you have any parting words? Oh, we're okay.
I do. I'm surprised that something didn't come up that I guaranteed a couple weeks ago, and that was that this weekend, on my birthday, no less, Syracuse will beat Wake Forest.
Oh, I totally forgot about that prediction.
It won't mean anything if they do, but it'll mean something to me.
Do you still feel good about that prediction?
No.
Not at all.
But I haven't felt good about half these picks today, and you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to lean into it.
Well, I guess sorry for letting them on. You know what? It wasn't a rivalry. That's why I didn't have it on the list.
It's not a rivalry. It's just a stupid prediction. I'm betting against myself here.
All right. Well, let's go Orange.
Yes.
And everyone, I hope you have a fantastic holiday week. I hope you have a fantastic week 14 ahead. There should be some really there's some bangers here. This is going to be an awesome week.
Unlike week 14.
Well, this is week 14.
This is week 13.
No.
Why does your sheet say week 13?
That's the week 13 review show we did.
I'm looking at the picks that you sent us. It says week 13.
Because I didn't change the number.
Oh, okay. This is week 14. Better than week 15.
We were both right. Yeah, better than conference championships.
Wait, no. Are conference championships next week, or is it just the Army-Navy game?
Is it both? Because Army-Navy's on Sunday, I believe.
I remember years where it was just Army-Navy.
If only there was a way for us to look this up.
There is no such thing.
The ACC championship game will be played on December 7th.
Well, screw me.
Man,
I was wrong.
You know what? Hopefully those are the only 2 times you're wrong, and we're going for 18-0. Let's get this GoFundMe going. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Kyle, say goodbye.
Happy Thanksgiving. Eat your turkey. Yay.
Don't eat the turkey. Fry the turkey, maybe.
No. Fried turkey has peanut oil, and I don't like that.
You don't have to use peanut oil.
Everybody uses it.
Everybody. Sweeping generalizations.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for.
Typical Kyle.
Bye-bye.
Jeff, we missed you. Bye.
Hi, my name's Joshua Tracy.
And I am Corwin Heller.
And we are the hosts of a statistics and sports podcast called Juicing the Numbers.
We cover the NFL, college football, MLB, and the NHL with anything that we like to talk about in between.
If you like sports and the numbers behind it, come check out our show, Juicing the Numbers, on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you find podcasts. Hit us up on Twitter at JuicingPod.